The blood on Cole Harlan's hands was not his own, and that was the problem. He had ridden hard for 6 hours through broken country, dust caked into the lines of his face, his horse breathing in short, loud pulls by the time he reached the canyon's edge. Below him, the flicker of a fire moved behind brush. Too controlled to be wild, too small to be a camp of men. He pulled his rifle before his boots hit the ground. The woman was crouched beside a man, laid flat on the rock shelf, her dark hands pressing a cloth against the man's side. She did not look up when Cole slid down the loose shale toward her. She was already talking, low and fast, in a language he only half understood. "He is dying," she said, switching to English without looking at him. "You have a needle and thread?" Cole stopped 3 feet from her. She was young, and not a girl, a woman, maybe 25, with thick black hair pulled back hard and eyes that did not ask permission when they finally lifted to his face. She was Apache. That much was plain. And the man bleeding on the rock was wearing a deputy's badge that Cole recognized. That badge belonged to a man named Pete Dunbar. Pete Dunbar had spent the better part of 2 years making Cole Harlan's life difficult. He had burned one of Cole's fence lines on a land dispute. He had blocked Cole's water rights through a judge who owed Dunbar's boss a favor. Cole had 3 very good reasons to leave Pete Dunbar where he lay. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out the needle and thread. "Move your hand," he said. She moved it. The wound was deep, a knife cut run along the ribs, not a bullet. Whoever had done it was close enough to touch when they did it. Cole threaded the needle by firelight without asking her to hold the flame closer. She held it closer anyway. "What's your name?" he said. "Nara," she said. "Nara." He pulled the first stitch through. Pete Dunbar made a sound like a man trying not to make a sound. "And him?" "He stopped 4 men from taking me," she said. "They did this to him for it." Cole pulled the second stitch. 4 men. Riders, with a brand I did not know. A circle with a broken bar through it. He knew that brand. Half the territory knew that brand. It belonged to a cattle operation out of Silver Creek run by a man named Harlow Dent. And Harlow Dent was not a man who left loose ends. "How long ago?" Cole said. "On before noon." She watched his hands with the focus of someone who had seen stitching done before and was checking his work. They rode south, toward the creek road. Cole finished the last stitch, tied it, bit the thread. "You keep that clean, he might live." He stood. Might not. The bleeding stopped. That's the part that matters right now. Nara looked up at him. The fire was low between them. Somewhere out in the dark, a coyote started and stopped. "You're not going to ask me why 4 of Harlow Dent's men were trying to take me," she said. "Not tonight," Cole said. "Why not tonight?" He looked at her for a long second. "Because tonight I'm going to find where they camped, and that answer will be waiting there." He climbed back up the shale toward his horse. At the top he stopped. "There's a line shack 2 miles east. A red door, no lock," he called down. "Get him there before morning. The cold out here will finish what the knife started." He did not wait for her to answer. He rode south, into the dark, toward a camp he hadn't seen and 4 men who did not know he was coming. That was how it began. Cole Harlan was not a complicated man. He ran 300 head on land his father had broken with bare hands in the years after the war. He paid fair wages, kept his fences tight, and settled disputes with paperwork when he could, and with his fists when he could not. He had a reputation for stubbornness, the way a stone wall has a reputation for not moving. It was not a personality trait. It was a structural fact. He found their camp where the creek road bent east, 4 horses tied to a juniper stand, a fire they hadn't bothered to hide. 4 men comfortable in the way that men get comfortable when they work for someone with enough money to make consequences disappear. 2 were asleep. 1 was cleaning a rifle. 1 was staring into the fire with a look that meant he was either thinking hard or not thinking at all. Cole came in from upwind, slow, on foot, with his horse tied a quarter-mile back. The man cleaning the rifle heard him first. He came up fast, and Cole hit him with the flat of his own rifle before he could get the barrel around. Not hard enough to kill. Hard enough. The other 3 moved. 2 were still tangled in their bedrolls, and that bought Cole 3 seconds he used well. The 4th, the one who had been staring into the fire, was already on his feet and already had a gun out. And he was good. Faster than Cole expected from a man who had looked half asleep. The shot went past Cole's left ear close enough that he heard it like a door slamming in a small room. Cole dropped, rolled right, came up behind the juniper stand. The man fired again, clipping bark. The 2 from the bedrolls were getting sorted now, and this was the part where having a plan mattered. Cole didn't have a plan. He had a direction. He broke right, through the brush, taking the noise with him, pulling all 4 sets of eyes away from the fire and toward the dark tree line. They followed. Of course they followed. Men always follow when something runs. He stopped behind a boulder the size of a wagon, let them come in close, and then he let his voice carry. "Harlow Dent sent you after that woman," he said. They stopped. "I want to know why," he said. "One of you tells me, the other 3 ride back and say they never found her. That's a clean deal." Silence. The wind moved through the juniper, and the fire popped back at the camp. "Or," Cole said, "none of you talk. All 4 of you go back to Dent in a condition he won't be happy about." More silence. Then, from the man who had been fast with the gun, "You're Cole Harlan." "I am." A pause that had weight to it. "Dent's not going to like this." "Dent can form a line," Cole said. The fast man laughed. It was a short, dry sound, not mean in it, just tired. "She has something that belongs to him, papers, a deed survey, from before the territory lines got redrawn." "What land?" "The Canyon Tract, 40,000 acres north of Silver Creek." Cole stayed very still behind his boulder. 40,000 acres. With the water rights that came with it, that was the whole North Range. "Where did she get it?" he said. "Her father," the fast man said. "Old Apache land grant, signed by a federal commissioner in '61. Dent's been sitting on land he doesn't own for 12 years, and she can prove it." The night held that information the way a still pond holds a dropped stone. One ring, spreading. "Ride back," Cole said. "Tell Dent you lost her in the canyon country." "He won't believe that." "That's your problem," Cole said. "You've got one." They rode, all 4 of them, back south, the fast man last, and he looked back once toward Cole's boulder with an expression that was not quite a warning and not quite respect. Something in between. Cole walked back to his horse, mounted up, sat there in the dark for a moment, thinking about a woman crouching over a bleeding deputy by firelight, pressing cloth against a wound she hadn't caused, speaking English with the flat patience of someone who had learned to be useful in a world that mostly wanted her gone. And a deed. 61. 40,000 acres. He turned his horse east, toward the red door in the line shack, and rode. The line shack smelled like old wood and mouse and the particular loneliness of places that only get used in emergencies. Nara had gotten Pete Dunbar through the door and onto the cot that ran along the back wall. She had found the tin of lard under the shelf and used it to seal the stitches against the cold. When Cole pushed the door open, she was sitting on the floor with her back against the cot, her knees drawn up, her eyes open. No, she looked at him the way people look at someone they're not sure whether to trust or just use. "He's still breathing," she said. "Good." Cole set his rifle by the door, found the stub of a candle on the shelf, lit it from the match in his vest. The room got small and warm. That particular way, candlelight makes rooms feel smaller and warmer than they are. 4 of Dent's men. They told me what they were after. Nara said nothing. "The deed," Cole said. "Still nothing." Nara. "Yes," she said. "My father's deed." Cole pulled the single chair from beside the shelf and sat down. He was tired in the way a man gets tired when the day has been long and the night has been longer and the next day is already visible on the horizon. "Where is it now?" "Hidden." "How long have you had it?" She looked at the candle for a moment. "Oh, I have always had it. My father gave it to me when I was 16. He said, 'Hold this. One day you will know what to do with it.'" She paused. "I did not know what to do with it for a long time." "And now?" "Now Harlow Dent tried to have me taken," she said. "Now I know." Pete Dunbar made a sound on the cot. Not words. Just the sound of a man working hard at not dying. Nara reached back without looking and put her hand on his arm, and the sound settled. Cole watched that. "He knew about the deed?" "Pete Dunbar came to my camp 3 weeks ago," she said. "Not official. Alone. He said he'd been looking at old land records and found something wrong with Dent's claim. He asked if I knew anything." She looked at Cole directly. "I told him about my father's papers. He said he could help me file a formal challenge, or he was riding back to show me the territory records when Dent's men found him on the road. And you happened to be close enough to pull him out." "I followed him," she said, no apology in it. "I did not know if I could trust him." Cole leaned forward, elbows on his knees. The candle threw everything into halves, half light, half dark. "You can't file that deed alone. Dent owns the circuit judge." "I know." "And the county recorder owes Dent money." "I know that too. So what's your move?" Nara looked at him steadily. The question she wasn't asking was right there in the space between them, as plain as the candle on the shelf. Cole felt it land. "Don't stop," she said. Quiet, direct, the way someone speaks when they've thought a long time before deciding to speak at all. "I need it, and I need someone who knows this territory and doesn't owe Harlow Dent a single thing." She paused. "Do you owe him anything?" "The opposite," Cole said. "Then I need that." The candle moved in a draft from somewhere, shadows swinging across the wall. Cole looked at Pete Dunbar's pale face on the cot. Looked at the deed he hadn't seen, but could already feel the weight of. Looked at a woman who had sat alone on a cold floor all night, pressing lard into a stranger's stitches, and was now asking him, clearly and without performance, for help. "There's a federal land office in Tucson," he said. 3 days' ride. I know where it is. Dunbar can't ride for at least a week. I know that too. So it's just us, Cole said. Just us, Nara said. Outside, the wind picked up. Running hard across the high desert the way it does before dawn, restless, searching, not finding anything to stop it. The candle held. Cole stood up. I'm going to sleep 2 hours. Then we need to be moving before first light. He looked at her. You sleep too. I will sleep when we are in Tucson, she said. He almost smiled. Didn't quite. Suit yourself. He pulled his hat over his face and was asleep in 4 minutes, boots still on, rifle across his lap. Nara watched the candle. She was thinking about her father, who had pressed a folded paper into her hands when she was 16 and told her to hold it, and about 40,000 acres of canyon land that had belonged to her people before anyone drew lines on maps and called the lines real. The candle burned down another inch. Pete Dunbar breathed in, breathed out. Eras in somewhere south of Silver Creek. Harlow Dent was waking up to a report that his 4 men had come back empty-handed, and the particular fury that lives in men who are not used to not getting what they want was already moving toward a decision. Dawn was 2 hours out. It was going to be a hard 3 days. They left before the sky turned from black to gray. Nara on her own horse, a lean paint that moved like it had opinions about terrain, and Cole on his dun, with Pete Dunbar propped between them on a third horse Cole had found picketed behind the shack with no explanation for how it got there. Pete was conscious enough to hold the saddle horn, not conscious enough to do much else. "Your horse or his?" Cole asked Nara, nodding at the third animal. "Mine," she said. "I brought a spare." He looked at her. "I planned ahead," she said, not a hint of apology. "I thought there might be a man to carry." Cole shook his head slowly and pointed them east. They rode for an hour in silence, the kind of silence that 2 people fall into when they've already said the important things and the landscape is doing most of the talking. The desert opened around them, not empty, never empty out here, just full of things that don't announce themselves. Juniper, prickly pear, the occasional hawk burning slow circles above the ridge line. Pete came around somewhere around the 2nd hour. "Harlan?" he said, his voice like gravel in a dry creek bed. "Dunbar." "I'm on your horse." "You're on her horse," Cole said. Pete turned his head slowly toward Nara. Processed this. Looked back at Cole. "You 2 know each other." "We do now," Cole said. Pete closed his eyes. "The deed," he said. "I know," Cole said. "Rest. Dent's going to—" "I know what Dent's going to do," Cole said. "Rest." Pete rested. They hit trouble at the Narrows around midday, where the canyon walls pushed the trail down to single file, and a man with a rifle on the rim above could make very simple decisions about the people below him. Cole saw the glint before he heard anything, and he didn't wait to hear it. Off the trail, now. Nara was already moving. She had seen it too, or felt it, which was faster. She pulled Dunbar's horse off the path and into the shallow cave formation at the base of the east wall before Cole was fully down from his saddle. The shot came half a second later, kicking rock where Cole's horse had been standing. 1 shooter. Rim position. The angle of the dust said north end of the Narrows, maybe 150 yards up and back. Cole pressed flat against the canyon wall and looked at Nara. She was looking at the rim with an expression of complete, unhurried calculation. 1, she said. 1, he agreed. Dent moved fast, she said. He always does. Cole checked his rifle. Full. They knew he'd take the canyon road, because there is no other road that saves 2 hours. Right. Cole looked at the rim again. The shooter hadn't fired a second time, which meant he was patient and comfortable, and waiting for them to do something obvious. "I need you to do something that's going to feel unreasonable." Nara looked at him. "Ride straight back the way we came. Loud. Both spare horses. Make it sound like 3 people leaving fast." "And you?" she said. "I'm going up the east wall." She looked at the east wall. It was steep, broken rock, with enough crevice holds that a man in good condition could make it in 10 minutes. "And Pete?" she said. "He comes with me," Cole said. "He cannot climb." "He doesn't have to climb," Cole said. "He has to hold on to me." Pete Dunbar, eyes open now. looked at Cole with the expression of a man reconsidering his life's decisions. "I am going to owe you a significant amount of money," he said. "You're going to owe me the North water rights," Cole said. A pause. "That's extortion," Pete said. "That's negotiation," Cole said. "You ready?" Pete grabbed Cole's shoulder like a man grabbing the last solid thing before a fall. Nara took both spare horses back down the trail, moving fast, noise and dust. Every sound magnified by the canyon walls into the impression of a full group retreating. The shooter moved. Cole heard the shift of boot on rock above, the slight scuffle of repositioning. He went up the east wall. Pete Dunbar weighed more than he looked and made more noise than was ideal. But Cole had done harder things. At the top, belly flat on the rim, he could see the shooter below him. One of Dent's men, not the fast one from last night. A different one, older, settled in with a good angle and the comfortable posture of someone who expected to wait. Cole moved along the rim in a low crawl until he was directly above him. Then he dropped. The landing was rough for both of them. The rifle went wide, off the rim, down into the canyon with a long, clattering fall that seemed to go on past the point where falls should end. The shooter came up fighting, which Cole respected, and they went 3 hard rounds before Cole got him on his back with a knee on his chest. "Who sent you?" Cole said. The man spat dust. "You know who sent me." "How many more?" The man said nothing. "There are 2 ways off this rim," Cole said. "One involves me, and one involves you explaining to your horse how legs work." The man looked at the drop. "2 more," he said. "Waiting at the south end." Cole tied his hands with his own belt, left him on the rim in enough shade to live comfortably while being completely inconvenient, and climbed back down. Pete Dunbar was sitting on a rock at the base of the wall, looking like a man who had recently been reconsidering everything. "2 at the south end," Cole said. "I heard." Pete touched his side carefully. "I may have pulled your stitches. Nara will redo them tonight." "She'll be annoyed," Pete said. "Probably," Cole said. Nara came back around the south bend of the trail on foot, horses behind her, with an expression that confirmed Pete's assessment. She looked at the torn stitches through Pete's shirt, looked at Cole, said nothing for a long moment. "There are no men at the south end," she said. Cole looked at her. "I went around," she said simply. "There were 2. There are now none." Pete looked at her, looked at Cole. "Where did you find her?" he said. "She found me," Cole said. They rode south. They made Silver Creek town by the second day's end, coming in from the north road with Pete Dunbar sitting straighter and Nara riding the paint like she owned the road, which in some technical legal sense she was about to. And Cole had the deed inside his vest by then. Nara had retrieved it from its hiding place in a hollowed rock formation she led them to, without explaining how she'd known Cole would ask for it. She just handed it to him. Folded tight, wrapped in oilskin, signed in a federal commissioner's hand in the '61 style. Clear and unambiguous, and absolutely devastating to Harlow Dent's claim on 40,000 acres. Dent was waiting at the edge of town. Cole had known he would be. Dent was the kind of man who needed to watch things he thought he controlled. And they had been riding his roads for 2 days and killing his hired inconveniences as they went. The word would have reached him 12 hours ahead of them. He sat on a gray horse with 4 armed men behind him, in the middle of the main road, in the middle of the afternoon, and with the full casual confidence of a man who believed money was the same thing as being right. Cole stopped his horse 20 feet out. "Harlan," Dent said. He was maybe 50, built wide with a face that had gone hard and stayed hard over a long career of getting what he wanted. He looked at Nara the way a man looks at something he still considers his problem to resolve. That document she's carrying belongs to me. It belongs to her father's estate, Cole said. And she's his heir. Her father was Apache. Apache don't own land in this territory. The federal commissioner who signed that deed in '61 disagreed, Pete Dunbar said from his horse. His voice was still rough, but it was carrying. And when I file this with the land office in Tucson, the federal court is going to disagree with you again. Dent looked at Dunbar like a man looking at a betrayal he'd half expected. You're a county deputy. You have no standing in federal land cases. I resigned this morning, Pete said. Wrote it up last night by firelight, effective immediately. He reached into his vest and produced the letter. I'm now a private citizen with a personal interest in seeing a 40-year-old land fraud corrected. He looked at Dent steadily. I also have a letter going to the territorial governor's office describing the last 3 days in full detail. If anything happens to any of us, that letter arrives automatically. The 4 men behind Dent shifted. Small movements, the kind that mean men are recalculating. Dent looked at Cole. This isn't over. It will be, Cole said. When that deed is filed, it will be. I have lawyers. Get more of them, Cole said. Dent looked at Nara last. A long look, the kind that was meant to carry weight. She met it without moving, without expression, with the specific quality of stillness that belongs to people who have waited a long time for the moment they are currently in. Dent turned his horse. His men followed. They rode west, and the main road of Silver Creek opened ahead of Cole and Nara and Pete Dunbar like a road is supposed to. The Tucson ride took 3 more days. Pete's stitches held. Nara redid the ones that didn't, twice, without comment. They stopped at a waypoint station on the second night, and the woman running it gave them hot food and looked at the 3 of them together with the particular expression of someone filing away a story to tell later. The land office in Tucson processed the deed on a Thursday morning. The clerk who handled it was a small, precise man named Ford, who read the commissioner's signature 3 times, checked it against the registry, and then looked up at Nara. This is valid, he said, like he was slightly surprised to be saying it. Yes, Nara said. And you are the named heir. Yes. Ford stamped it, filed it, gave her the receipt with the seal of the federal land office on it, and in that moment 40,000 acres of canyon country in the North Range formally changed hands for the second time in 12 years. Back to where they had started. Nara held the receipt. She looked at it for a long time. Cole stood beside her, hat in his hands, watching her face. Your father would be glad, he said. She folded the receipt carefully, mouse the same way she'd folded the deed in oilskin, the same instinct toward protecting what matters. He said one day I would know what to do with it, she said. He was right. They stepped out into the Tucson afternoon, which was bright and hot and full of the ordinary noise of a working town that had no idea what had just happened inside the land office. Pete Dunbar was sitting on the office steps, looking like a man who was deeply ready to stop traveling. Well, he said. Filed, Cole said. Pete let out a long breath. Dent is going to contest it. He's going to try, Cole said. He'll lose. How do you know? Because Ford back there is going to tell everyone he knows that he processed the oldest valid Apache land grant in the territory this week, Cole said. By Monday morning, every newspaper between here and Santa Fe is going to want to know about it. Dent can't make that disappear with lawyers. Pete considered this. Smart. She thought of it, Cole said. Pete looked at Nara. Did you? I told the clerk he could share the filing information with anyone he chose, she said. He seemed pleased by that. Pete shook his head slowly. Where are you going now? He said to her. Home, she said. To the canyon land. She paused. There is a lot to rebuild. Pete nodded, stood up carefully, hand on his side. I'll ride back with you. I know some people who can help with the legal side when Dent makes his move. You resigned, Cole said. I resigned from the county, Pete said. I didn't resign from being useful. He looked at Cole. You? Cole looked north. His own land was 2 days back. 300 head and a fence line that needed work and a water dispute that had been waiting on him for 3 weeks. All of it ordinary. All of it waiting. He looked at Nara. She was watching him with that same clear, unhurried expression she'd had in the line shack by candlelight, the night she had asked him not to stop. I'll ride you back to the canyon, he said. Then I'll go home. That is out of your way, she said. Some things are worth the detour, he said. She looked at him for a moment, and then something in her face moved. Not a smile exactly, but close, the way a door doesn't open all the way, but lets enough light through that you know what's on the other side. They mounted up, all 3 of them, into the Tucson afternoon and turned north. Behind them, the land office clerk was already talking to a man with a notebook. Ahead of them, the canyon country was waiting. Red rock and wide sky and 40,000 acres that belonged, at last, to the person they had always belonged to. Cole Harlan rode with his hat pulled low and his rifle across his saddle, and the particular satisfaction of a man who had spent 3 days doing something harder and more worthwhile than fixing a fence line. It was enough. For now, it was enough.